Hi, it's Lara here. It is Monday, March 30th, and I'm here again, not on a Wednesday, because I really want to talk to you about a couple of things that are happening this week. And Wednesday's video, I'm going to focus on the upcoming full moon in Libra. So I wanted to do this separate video because this is really important to talk to you about. So first off, before I get started, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing the best you can under the circumstances. I hope that you are able to pause and take care of yourself when needed. I know there are a lot of people out there working on the front lines that might not have that opportunity. I know, it's funny because I keep seeing all these posts about, oh, take this time to do this, that, and the other thing, right? And the fact of the matter is, sure, absolutely, great opportunity to do those things if you are able. And when I say able, I mean if you're able in terms of your time, your schedule, the structure, all of that. And if you're able in terms of where you're at, right? We are experiencing mass amounts of collective grief right now, among other things. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that. Personally, last couple of days, I felt like I've hit a wall. And yesterday I tuned out for a bit and we just spent the day kind of cooking and, hanging out as a family. And that was good. And we planned to shut her down this afternoon for a few hours and watch a movie together as well, even though it's a Monday, right? We have the ability to do that, so we're fortunate. But I know not everybody does. So my point is that, sure, yeah, go take up a new hobby or, take the time to reflect and all of that. That's easy to say if you have that capability right now. But if you are a family where you have either two parents working out of the house still right now because you've been considered, an essential service and you're scrambling for childcare, or you have, you're a single parent and you're working from home and you've got little ones that also need your attention. And, this whole, where I am anyway, and I know in a lot of other places in the world, this whole e-learning thing, that's expected. Everybody's expected to homeschool their kids now too, on top of everything else, right? There's so many different scenarios. Two parents working from home that aren't used to working from home with kids that they have to occupy and all those other things, right? Not to mention just all of the feelings associated with everything that's going on, the struggles. Some people are losing all their income. Other people are fortunate enough that they're still getting paid their full income. And I think we need to acknowledge that level of inequality that's going on too, and realize not everybody is in the same boat as far as that goes. If you are somebody who is lucky enough to still be drawing an income, or you have a two-income household and you're still drawing those incomes as if you were before, then I no doubt you're feeling the pressure and the restrictions in other ways, and all the feelings, but perhaps just be conscious of the fact that not everybody is that fortunate right now. And so maybe you can support, things like small business, artists, people who have not been deemed essential services, these kinds of things, right? So just be mindful that we're all in this together, 110%, but we're all experiencing, many things we're experiencing are the same, but we are experiencing them in different ways and to different degrees, right? So it's important to be mindful of that right now. But, what I started off saying was that if you're feeling like, I really hope that if you feel you need it, then you have the chance to kind of just withdraw from it all for a bit and take a break. So having said that, I want to move on to talk about what I'm here to talk to you about today. And that is two really significant events that are happening here late March, early April 2020. One of those things is happening tomorrow, March 31st, where I am anyways, Eastern time. I think everywhere else in the world as well tomorrow, but it's Mars and Saturn coming together in the sky in an exact conjunction, okay, at 0 degrees Aquarius. I'll show you that on the chart in a second. And so, we're feeling this already because it's looming right now. As I'm recording this, Mars is at 29 degrees of Capricorn, right at the very end of Capricorn. And we know, like I spoke about this, the significance of 29 degrees in a video a few weeks ago when I mentioned Saturn being at the final degrees of Capricorn, about to tip into Aquarius. And this is like a tipping point, a turning point, right? And so tomorrow, Mars and Saturn will meet up at the 1st degree of Aquarius. So I'll talk about that in this video. And the other thing I want to really talk to you about is we have Jupiter and Pluto, two huge energies coming together in an exact conjunction at 24 degrees Capricorn. So those planets are within a degree of each other right now. They're in fact, where I am at 24 degrees, Jupiter and Pluto are together. They will be exactly conjunct to the minute on April 4th. Okay, these two planets move a little bit slower. Pluto moves very slow. And so it takes a little bit longer for them to kind of inch, into position. And so we're feeling that right now. It will be exact on the 4th of April. And then this won't be the last we hear of this. This is part of a larger story playing out over the course of this year. Jupiter and Pluto are going to be coming together again in June, at the end of June, June 30th, and then one more time in November, November 12th. And so we will have 3 exact hits of this energy. So it's really important to pay attention to what's going on right now, because it won't be the last of it. Okay, so and it can be this can be actually a very, very beneficial thing if we're conscious of how we're harnessing the energy and how we're responding to it. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to jump on here and talk to you, right? Awareness is everything. So I'm going to show you the chart, and then I'm going to talk about those two things. So here's the chart for today. So the two things, obviously lots going on. I'm not going to point every little thing out, because what I really want to talk to you are these two pieces. Saturn at 0 degrees Aquarius, Mars at 29 degrees Capricorn. Mars is slowly moving towards Saturn. Well, not slowly, rapidly moving towards Saturn. And by tomorrow, we'll be in an exact conjunction at 0 degrees Aquarius. Okay. And then the other thing is that I mentioned, there we have Pluto and Jupiter right beside each other at 24 Capricorn. And as I said, on the 4th of April, there will be to the exact minute right on top of each other. But we are feeling this now, right? Because, let's take the Saturn-Jupiter or Saturn-Pluto conjunction that happened earlier this year. It became exact early January. But we are still feeling the impact of this, right? It's not just like these things happen in a moment in time, especially when we're talking about planets that have this broader influence. This energy reverberates out, and we're dealing with it sort of long after the fact. So let me first start by saying that if you have planets and points around the latter degrees of Capricorn, right? Because that's where Jupiter and Pluto are conjuncting at 24 degrees. So if you have planets and points within, sort of 5 degrees on either side of that, or the early degrees of Aquarius, so you're really going to be feeling this on a personal level. And so Capricorn is a cardinal sign, right? So anybody that has something hovering around the 24 degree of the cardinal signs mark. So Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, and Libra are the 4 cardinal signs. If you have any planets or points around those degrees, 24 degrees, this is going to be speaking to you on a personal level. I have a Saturn-Pluto conjunction. I've mentioned this to you before at that degree of Aries. So this is squaring, right? This Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is squaring my Venus-Saturn conjunction. So feeling it, right, on a personal level. And if you have planets or points at that 0 degrees Aquarius mark, give or take, right? So that's, or 0 degrees of the fixed signs, Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, and Taurus, then this is impacting you on a more personal level. It's impacting all of us. I think we are pretty well aware of that at this point, right? But just so you know, so latter degrees of the cardinal signs, early degrees of the fixed signs is really getting, touched by this energy. So let's start first by just talking a little bit about Mars-Saturn in exact conjunction. This is an energy that can feel like 1 foot on the gas, 1 foot on the brake. Like that kind of an energy, right? You know what I mean? Because Mars is drive and will and ambition and action and assertiveness and potentially aggression, right? Mars is the warrior. And Saturn puts the brakes on. It's the obstacles, the restrictions, the structure, the time constraints, the authority, the rules, the regulations, all of these things, right? So you see when those two energies come together, it's very, very gas brake kind of energy. And so as with any kind of planetary energy, there are different ways this can play out, right? So if we are aware and making conscious choices and responding in a conscious way, then this can be, we can really be driven, Mars, to overcome the obstacles in our path right now, Saturn. Really sort of determined and action-oriented, right? Mars, to work past the restrictions, Saturn, to work hard, Saturn, to, that kind of thing. So that's how we use that energy beneficially. And this goes for us personally, but it goes for us in a broader scale when we're talking about our organizations and our employers and, our institutions and all of that as well, right? Our governments and everything. So we've got that going on. So be very mindful, because the other way this can play out when people are more sort of unconscious, less aware, really sitting with this energy at a lower vibration kind of thing, or a lower octave, however you want to, like the shadow side of the energy, can be lashing out in anger, right? Anger at the obstacles and restrictions and authorities. And sometimes that is completely 100% necessary. Sometimes we need anger to light a fire under our ass to do something about it. And that can very much be Mars-Saturn. And so there's nothing wrong with that. Anger has its place. You've heard me say that many, many times before. Anger has its place. Use it constructively though, right? Not destructively. And that is the shadow side of this energy potentially, right? Is just lashing out for the sake of it, lashing out in ways that hurt other people, that hurt yourself. So just be mindful of that. If you are stuck at home and you're feeling fired up because of this aspect, try to do something constructive, creative, go on a major house cleaning spree, work with your hands, do something, create something, build something. If you have a home gym, use it. Now would be the time. Watch some workout videos, like you could even, honestly, if none of those things are sounding appealing to you and you just don't have the energy, even watching something that's a little bit more like some, Viking show or something like that may help you process that energy a little. But you'll know what works best for you. So that is the Mars-Saturn, right, thing going on. So if you want to know where this is happening for you exactly, then you look to the house in your chart that Capricorn sits for you. And that's how you know that. Okay, the other thing that I want to talk to you about is Jupiter-Pluto, right, which I pointed out on the chart. So Jupiter and Pluto meet up in the sky about every 13 years, once every 13 years or so. And of course, it's not always in the same sign, right? It depends where they are. And so this year, as I said off the top of the video, these two energies, big energies, are meeting up 3 times. Right now, exact April 4th, exact again June 30th, and exact for the last time on November 12th of 2020. So when we have this go on, and that's because of retrogrades, that's why that's happening. So when we have this go on, what happens is you can see a story. You can see a story play out. So the first hit kind of sets things up, right? We become aware, if we're paying attention, if we're conscious, and that's one of the things astrology does for us. It makes us aware, right? As I was saying before, it's a mirror. What's going on in the cosmos is a mirror for what's happening here on Earth. It's a reflection. And sometimes it's easier to see things in the mirror. So this first hit of Saturn and, of Pluto and Jupiter sets things up, right? It's chapter 1 kind of thing. And then what happens the next time is things kind of reach that midpoint, right? The climax of the story. And then we have, when the last hit happens, we generally by then we're aware of what's going on because we've had some experience with it. And that's in a sense, the resolution point, right? But that doesn't mean it's completely over by then. As we know, like I just used the example of Saturn and Pluto conjuncting earlier this year. We're still in that energy. So, but that tends to be how that kind of thing happens, right? And this combination of Jupiter and Pluto, there's a few things I jotted down here, is this energy of influence, Jupiter, that can be Jupiter, yes, and charisma, Pluto, right? Those two, influence and charisma, are these huge kind of factors at play here. It's an energy of power and intensity coming together, of attraction and repulsion. Huge energy of attraction and repulsion. So, it's a very magnetic energy, Jupiter and Pluto. It is in the charts of some very charismatic people. So I looked up a few examples. So Bill Gates has this in his chart. Mick Jagger has this in his chart. Lucy Liu has this in her chart. Whoopi Goldberg, Jennifer Lopez. Who else? Rupert Murdoch, Jim Jones, right? The cult leader. So that just gives you kind of an example of this energy, right? Very charismatic energy. And so it's really important for us because we're all experiencing this energy, right? Even if we don't have it in our birth chart, we're experiencing it right now. To use this wisely, to focus your attention on what it is that you want the outcome to be, on what it is that you want to sort of magnetize into your field of experience, personally and on a more global scale, because sort of, there's that saying, like, where attention goes, energy flows, or whatever. I can't remember the exact saying, but the point is like what you put your attention on, what you focus on, is what will expand at this time. Okay, so it's really important to be mindful of that. Jupiter is an energy of expansion. It grows whatever it touches, and it's touching Pluto right now, right? And Pluto is about power and control, and it is about big money. It can be about big money, Pluto. It can be about transformation on a huge, profound scale, right? And Pluto is a probing energy. It will go into the darkest depths to purge, right? To purge toxins and all of that, which can be taken literally or metaphorically. So when these two energies come together, it's a big deal. It can be expansion of issues around power and control, right? And just huge transformation, transmutation, alchemy, this kind of thing. And it is associated, this aspect, with huge reversals of fortune. And I don't necessarily mean that just on a money, material scale. It can be that, definitely, but it's like reversals in fate or fortune, right, are associated with this. So again, massive transformation in the balance of power, for example. Huge growth. So we may see examples of, big entities or larger than life people losing lots of money, or losing, things that are important to them, that they've put their value on, they've placed value on. But then we can see the opposite as well. People, we can see that the underdog starting to gain some ground, for example. And people that have had very little start to gain, right? So these kinds of things are associated with Jupiter and Pluto coming together. This is a chance, if we're going to use it optimally, it's a real chance to see opportunity in the challenge, right? And I know that can be really difficult. If our actions right now, if our actions are motivated by wisdom, by ethics, by morality, then this brings out the best of this combination. If the energy is harnessed with good intentions, then it's, if it's harnessed with awareness and sort of higher consciousness, then there can be massive spiritual and material gains had here with this combo. But the opposite is also true, right? If we are motivated, and when I say we, I mean us as individuals, but I'm also talking about the royal we in terms of, businesses, corporations, governments, authorities, this kind of thing. If we are motivated by greed, by power, by ego, by narcissism and obsession and lust and all of those things, then it's not likely to turn out well for us in the end. So, I thought it was really important to talk to you about that. I just want to see, do I have any other notes made? So I do have a couple other notes here. Individually, this can be some huge transformation, right? For each of us personally, and generally in the area of life where these two energies are meeting up. So in the Capricorn area of our chart, the later degrees of Capricorn, like I mentioned to you at the beginning of the video, is where you want to look to where this influence is. Late Capricorn, early Aquarius, all of this is going on, right? The Mars-Saturn thing that I spoke about, that's a shorter term influence. Because Mars moves more quickly, and but Jupiter-Pluto is a longer term influence, part of a larger story, as I said. So, if you're feeling really sort of driven or laser focused or obsessed with something that has to do with the Capricorn area of your chart, that's kind of normal under this influence. Just make sure that you're using that energy wisely, right? Like I said, morality, ethics, wisdom, all of those things come into play, and be mindful of what you put your attention on right now. Pluto can also be about fear. And so I think it's really important to say, make a conscious choice that is not what you are expanding in your life right now. Because where we focus is what grows or what's magnetized to us, right? So if we choose to put our focus on panic and fear, and I know that's, can be easier said than done right now, but that tends to be, what then expands under this influence. And I think the last thing I'll say is it's really important to come to grips with what we can't control right now and focus on what it is that we can control in our own individual experiences and lives. I have done more than my share of standing on a soapbox and, pleading with people to have some sense in how they act and behave, and to be mindful of others in this situation, and to follow, even if we don't like being told what to do. It's necessary to be following the guidelines, social distancing, all of that. It's necessary to do that right now for ourselves and for the greater good. But there's only so much sort of preaching you can do, right? At some point, it's very important to stand up where you see injustices happening and all of that. It's very important to do that. As I was talking about, that influence of Mars and Saturn, anger can have its place. It can be productive. But I think sometimes we have to realize that there are certain things that are beyond our control. And if we put all our focus and attention on those things, we can just drive ourselves nuts, right? It can be really unhealthy, physically, mentally, emotionally, all the things. And so if we control whatever it is we can control right now, that can give us a sense of calm and allow us to focus on, where we do have some say, where we do have some leeway, where we do have choice. And that could be in the smallest thing. That could be like, cleaning out your junk drawer, literally, on a very small scale, choosing to do that, or choosing, what to wear, even when you're stuck in the house any given day. It can be choosing how you are going to respond to the other people in your house. Hugely important right now. It can be choosing to say to your employer, even if you're working at home, listen, I really need a mental health day. And, really drawing that line in the sand. So come to grips with what you can control. Try to release what you can't control right now. And be mindful of where you put your attention, okay? So take good care. I will be doing my utmost to take my own advice, right? I say to you all the time, I never tell you anything that I don't need to hear myself as well. So this is also note to self. And please keep in touch. I've had a lot of people reaching out in various ways to me over the last little while. And if you're one of them and I haven't responded to you yet, I really apologize. I'm trying to balance that and then, my own stuff. So, but I do really, really appreciate it. And I'm here as a listening ear, so let me know in the comments below how things are going for you and if this is resonating with you and how you're experiencing this. Okay. So take good care, and I will see you here again on Wednesday, where we're going to talk about the full moon in Libra. Okay. Bye for now.